So, welcome to the Adult Chair Podcast. GS Youngblood in the house.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having me on.
I was just telling you, I've listened to your course because my boys have bought it, my husband's bought it, and I've listened to you, but not like face to face. I've listened to you on audio, so I can close my eyes. I'm like, I go right back there to your
That's
embodiment
funny.
exercises. So
Yeah.
it's so fun to see you and hear you today. So thank you so
All
much
right.
for
Today is
joining
in
us.
the flesh.
We are
Yeah.
in the flesh, in the house of GS Youngblood. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you today. We have a very big show. We're talking about healthy masculinity. That's why I'd love to start with you. So, this is a big buzzword now. Everyone's talking about divine feminine and healthy masculine, all these things.
Yeah.
You're like the man that talks about healthy masculine and embodiment and all of these things. Can you tell us what does that even mean? What's healthy masculinity?
Yeah. I have two ways that I would answer that. One is that this I don't know, it's a quote from some show that I've done. Um, Attunement is the difference between healthy masculine and toxic masculine. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Toxic masculine is, if you boil it down, it's like this is a guy who does what the fuck he wants and he's either not aware or doesn't care of the impact on others,
Ooh, that's good.
which means in that he's unaware of the impact on others because he's not attuned to others. He's more self-focused. And some people might
Okay.
call that narcissistic, but let's just say self-focused because it's a less
Yeah.
charged term.
Yeah.
Whereas a man who's genuinely attuned to his partner, let's talk about this in the bubble of a couple. So
Yeah.
if he's
Yeah.
attuned to his partner, he's probably not going to be quite as toxic because he's going to see the impact of his behavior on her. So that's one of
Yeah.
the things that I like to say is attunement is the difference between a healthy masculine and a toxic masculine. So that's one way that I would answer that question.
Okay.
The other is that I've got a definition of what I think masculine is, and it's defined in the masculine blueprint from the book, which I know that you and I will talk about later.
Yeah.
My contention is that if you live the blueprint, you're going to be in your healthy masculine. And this is not about power over, but it is about power within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for me, it's a model of masculinity that works in the modern world. We're not rolling the tape back. But also doesn't water down the power of a man. A man can be absolutely very powerful, and be attuned to his partner and be a good relational partner. And it doesn't mean he's watering down his power. So those are the two ways that I would answer that question.
Can you even break down what the word attuned means?
Hmm.
I mean,
Um,
I know what it means, but if someone's listening going, wait a minute, what does that even mean? How do I attune to my partner?
it's about awareness. You have to have some portion of your awareness that kind of just naturally goes towards your partner, whether she's in the room or not. Wherever she is in the world, it goes toward, and so it's about having awareness on her. It's about knowing her. And that's, I think,
Mhm.
one of the most powerful things a man can do is know his woman. What
Mm,
are her needs, her boundaries, her preferences? What are her childhood wounds that can be touched so easily?
mm,
The feminine wants to be known. I think
mhm,
way more so than the masculine. I mean, we want to be known, but it's not primal for us. But my contention is the feminine, the ethereal feminine,
mhm.
wants to be known. It's important. So I think those are two big elements of attunement. It's the awareness part and it's the knowing her part. And I will say
Mm,
it's not just knowing her sort of over time. It's actually knowing her in this moment because she may not be the same as she was in the last moment. So,
mhm,
figuratively speaking. And
mhm.
so being attuned to your woman means being attuned to her, who she is at a foundational level, but also minute to minute who she is, because it can fluctuate so quickly on guys. And that's one of the things that's confounding for us. It's like, wow, this worked yesterday with you, but today you're pissed off at me. So all of that is part of attunement.
It's so important too. And I say that to my husband, Graham, all the time. I'm like, that's not who I am anymore. Catch up, honey. Like, that's not me. He's like, well, I
Yeah.
thought that you used to like this and this. Nope, not anymore. That's not me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I might add to what you said, and it's a question, but also want to add this that attuning doesn't mean that you have to agree with, let's
Oh
say,
yeah.
right? So talk a little bit about that because your person
Yeah.
might not, you might not agree with what their needs are or what they what their perceived trauma is, let's just say, but it's like you still honor it, right?
Yeah. Let's dig break that apart. Attunement is not agreement. Attunement is not acquiescence, which I think is the point you were making.
Yeah.
And that's this. I'm so glad you brought that up because the guys, they think that to empathize with their woman means they have to agree with the maybe some blaming and shaming she might be throwing his way. And it doesn't mean that at all. It's like
Yeah.
here's the in inarguable truth in the moment is she does feel pissed off or she does feel scared or she does feel this. Like
Yeah.
it's a fact that she feels that. Now, is it based on facts and reality and accuracy? Maybe, maybe not, probably not. And I always
Hey
tell guys,
now.
stop trying to reconcile
Yeah.
emotions to facts. Like you
Yeah.
get yourself in trouble when you try to reconcile emotions to facts. Men, they have nothing to do with each other.
Mhm.
Nothing to do with each other. So quit trying to link them. You
Yeah.
can actually treat them very separately, which is what I recommend to men, which is you first get the emotional resonance
Yeah.
and then and only then talk about facts because before that it's like speaking Greek to somebody. You're just not gonna get through. And unfortunately, men bang their head against that wall. Um, and now actually, what was the original question? I went on so long I forgot what the original question
I was
was.
talking about that you don't have to agree with what your woman's needs might be or their desires or even their trauma. Like you might perceive it in a different way like, well, that really wasn't a trauma, but if they're saying that it is, it's just about
Yeah.
being there, holding space for them, allowing us to be whomever we are in
Yeah.
this moment and holding that container, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think the magnitude of the feminine's reaction is often kind of at the core of some debates or arguments in a couple,
Yeah.
because this thing happens. Her reaction is this big, and the guy's like, "What the hell?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "You need to own that. You need to own this." And
Yeah.
the guy's like, "What the hell? That's not all me. That like, why are you so upset?"
Yeah.
Well, the fact is that she's upset because it's been amplified by her own history.
Yeah.
She's had a history of maybe a father, maybe a brother, maybe
Hmm.
prior boyfriends and husbands who, violated her in some way. And probably violation's too strong a word, but whatever. They wounded her in some way.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the man in the relationship now is you're downstream of that. So you're gonna get some of that amplification. So for her, it's real. And I think the man that can understand that and instead of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
A guy can go to his heart and be like, "Oh, my baby's hurting," and yeah, it's amplified, and yeah, I'm getting some of her father thrown at me,
Mhm.
but I'm bigger than that. I can be bigger than that amplification. I can be bigger than the moment. I'm bigger than the ghost of her father. Is one of the things I like to say. Can
Yeah.
you be bigger than the ghost of her proverbial father? Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I couldn't agree with you more that it doesn't mean you agree if you're going to empathize with somebody and validate her feelings. Those are two very different things.
Mm. So, okay, so we've got men that have, I would say, there's a lot of toxic masculinity, which, and yeah, I think that you say in the beginning, like that might be what we label as narcissism, but I don't even like that word. That word is so overused, it's ridiculous. So
So charged. Yeah.
it's so charged and everyone's a narcissist. I'm like, they're not, everyone's not a narcissist for God's sake. They're really not. It's like it's
Yeah.
truly a small portion of the world. But there are men that are out there and women too.
Yeah.
But so there's toxic masculinity, which is that the masculine and again, there are some people that are very extreme in that, but they're also just the guys that are going through life that are, going to high school. They may or may not go to college and they get in the party scene and they do their thing. It seems like it's kind of robotic. Like everyone kind of does the same thing, right? And then they graduate and then they do their thing. And how is that toxic? Because I hear people say, well, that's toxic and that's not healthy. So give me an example of what a healthy masculine man looks like. How do they show up in the world? How is it different than
Yeah.
yeah, can you just break that down for us?
Yeah. I'm going to answer the part of the question where you said, what does a healthy masculine look like?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to me, that's a good segue into the blueprint,
Yes, perfect. Let's do it.
because that's my offering to the world of what I think that looks like. And so the masculine blueprint is what's in my book, The Masculine in Relationship. And it's the framework that I came up with. And I as I came through my journey, I had a long journey of learning about myself and waking up and then starting to codify these principles.
Yeah.
It took me a while because there's so many aspects to this. It's complex. Being masculine, it's
Yeah.
like anything, it's very complex. But over time, these three themes started to coalesce, and those three themes are as follows. So the first element is I call it respond versus react, and this is essentially about getting more grounded. So it's that quality of a man that's got a very grounded nervous system. There's a certain
Mm.
stillness to how he operates in the world, and
Mhm.
very much you feel his choicefulness moment to moment about how he's being. He's being like he wants to be. He's not kind of in a frenzy and being reactive or operating out of wounding or scripting. He's actually choosing how he wants to be. And you
Yeah.
have experience of men like this in your life, and you have experience of the opposite. Some
Yeah.
guys are like this, and other guys are like this. And we all know which one feels better. Because when
Hmm.
you're around somebody that's like that, it transmits into your nervous system. And then
Absolutely.
especially the feminine, you guys absorb it like a sponge. It
Absolutely.
doesn't feel good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus a man who's grounded, who can actually, that groundedness reaches across the air between you and actually grounds your nervous system too.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation of any healthy masculine in my book, because if you're not grounded, then you're reactive. And
Yep.
then when you're reactive,
Totally.
it's when you're much more likely to be toxic.
Absolutely.
You're either going to go into nice guy, or
Mhm.
you're going to go into toxic.
Yeah.
Neither of which are particularly attractive. So that's element one.
Mhm.
Element two is provide structure, which is about leading more, and it's bringing
Yeah.
leadership into the relationship. Leadership is not domineering. That's not what we're talking about.
Ooh.
Actually, both people can bring leadership. There's not a leader. There's not one leader. This is all about where do you bring leadership. And I think both the masculine and the feminine bring their own types into a healthy relationship. It's not just the man.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm teaching guys, how do you lead in your logistical life, just day-to-day life? Where can you find the places where you can really lead? How do you lead in your emotional life, which is not something that a lot of guys do. We usually abdicate that to our feminine partner. Um, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and then how do you lead in the sexual domain between the two of you? And you and I talked about my workshop, the leading in the bedroom workshop, where
Yeah.
we're teaching guys how to take charge, not as like BDSM take charge. I mean, you can take it that far if you want, but we're talking about the subtleties of leadership and how to really evoke more sexual surrender from your consenting partner through your own skillful, loving, and a little bit dark and edgy leadership. And so that's what we're talking about.
Isn't that what we
And then the
want?
third element is
Sorry, go ahead. I'm
yeah.
stopping in the bedroom with you over here. Just talking about sex. I had a comment over there, but go ahead. Go to number three. We're coming back to the
Well,
bedroom.
yeah, well,
We stop in the bedroom?
let's jump right. Yeah, let's go there, and then I'll come back to the third element.
Yeah, I love these. I love these elements. Actually, they're very, very lined up with the adult chair model. This is what healthy adults respond versus react is the first one. Anyway, let me get back.
Yeah,
So when you talk about leading, I really like this leading. Can you give me an example of, I'm going to go to the bedroom first, then I want to go back to just daily life. What does that even look like in daily life? Again, what I'm trying to distinguish is what might it look like now and what could it look like for somebody? Like what's the healthy way of doing this? So in the bedroom, when you say leading, isn't it true that if a man shows up with healthy masculine, then the female can drop into that divine feminine and receive. Because it seems to me that women in these days, not that I'm talking about myself here at GS, but a lot of us are working, a lot of us are business women, and we are sometimes controlling, or, we're running companies, or we're doing these things. That could be masculine in many, and it is masculine in some ways. So then when it comes to intimacy, bedroom, this kind of thing, it's like, hold on, I got to switch off my brain that I've been in all day long, my energy
yeah,
that I've been in all day long, and now I've got to
yep.
drop into divine feminine. This feels weird, so I need that man to step
Yeah.
into more of that divine masculine so I can drop into feminine and receive. Can you just talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, that's I mean, you explained part of the dynamic and I'll explain other parts, but you explained part of it really well where a lot of women are in their masculine energy getting shit done during the day. So
Yeah.
how do you come home and switch that off? And for a guy that doesn't understand masculine feminine, which was me 16 years ago when I started my own journey, actually more than 16 at this point, but I didn't understand that. And so, I didn't know how to initiate. And therefore she just stayed in her feminine. I didn't know about masculine leadership and the impact of a lack of masculine leadership. So she just stayed in her
Mm.
feminine. Most women are very responsible. So if the man's not stepping into the leadership role in a particular scenario, she's not going to just say, well, okay, I'm just going to let this whole thing fall in on itself. She's going to stay taking care of things until
Yeah.
somebody else steps in. So,
Which is more
and so,
masculine that we don't need and we don't want.
right. Yeah, you guys get plenty of it.
We
Yeah.
get
The way I
plenty of it
write about
during
it
the
in the book.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, the way I write about it in the book, and of course I'm generalizing here, but a lot of women are getting shit done, but that's not their natural energy. So they can't stay in it 24/7, whereas a guy kind of can.
Mm-hmm.
You're comfortable doing it. You do it very well. We were talking about how you're crushing it in your business.
Mm-hmm.
And there's probably you want to return to something
Yeah.
that's more of your natural feminine state. Not all the time, but just you want to return to it like coming home after a vacation. It can kind of feel good and settling. So,
Yeah.
and I think let's give an example
Yeah,
instead of
please.
just up here.
Please. Yeah, yeah.
And I just had a client yesterday. Oh my God, Michelle. He simply cannot initiate with his wife, and they've been married a long time. I've been working with him, trying to
Yeah.
get him, and he's having a hard time initiating. And here's the thing that I think men need to understand that in general, a woman's sexuality is sometimes hidden right beneath that layer of getting shit done. So if she's in
Yeah.
this mode, this is hidden.
Yeah.
But the guy reads that as a lack of interest in sexuality, when
Mhm.
in fact what it is it's there. The latent desire for sexuality is there, but it's covered up because these other things are more pressing, are more urgent.
Yeah.
I think in general, women multitask in their minds way more than we do. So you've got 15 things going on.
Yep.
So what the guy needs to do is he needs to understand that his woman does want him. She does want to be a sexual being. It's just not on the surface. She can't always get there on her own. And so she'll just kind of stay in the doing. She needs him to initiate sexuality and to know he needs to be skillful about how he can maybe kind of get some of these things and put them on the shelf. So maybe it's like you got to get the dishes done first. It could be as simple as that. That's my woman. Like we can't leave the dishes undone before sexuality because it just it eats at
Oh,
her.
yeah.
So a guy who's skillful in knowing how to remove those headwinds is like
Hmm.
how we refer to them,
Hmm.
and then can bring her sexuality now to the surface where she doesn't have to be the one initiating and thinking about the sexuality. That's powerful in my book. And of course, I'm generalizing. We're not talking about all women all the time, but you
Yeah.
take the 80% bell curve.
Yeah.
That's a way that a man can bring sexual leadership is just through the initiation part. And there's an attunement there. There's an
Yeah.
attunement element, like knowing your woman's sexuality is under the surface, knowing how to kind of address some of the headwinds and then to draw her into her arousal.
Mm.
Um, that's
Hmm.
powerful masculine leadership in the bedroom. All right, I'm
Nice.
going to stop there because I talked a lot.
No, that was great. Thank you. Thank you for, and I agree with you when you said multitasking. I thought, gosh, when I first had kids, I was not working and man, I got it all done. And I was still in the masculine. I'm thinking back, I've got two little kids. I'm keeping the house clean. I'm paying the mortgage. I'm paying the bill. I'm doing like multitasking like crazy. Go, 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 go. The last thing on my mind was sex. I'm like,
Yes. Yeah.
what? Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm no. So yeah, I hear that. The man's got to come
Yeah.
in and
And
really
you
lead.
were, sorry, I didn't want to talk
No,
over.
go ahead.
I'll say this little point and hand you back
Yeah.
the mic. But you're still a sexual being. Like you
Mhm.
didn't go frigid. You didn't lose interest in sex, but it was just under the surface.
I like that. It's under the surface. I talk to more
Yeah.
women. I just had someone on a bit ago that we talked about tantras. The whole episode was on tantras. It was amazing. Um, But yeah, it's there. It's like a dormant volcano. We need the man to show up in a different way and lead. And
Yeah.
what I have found just in seeing my own couples over the years when I used to see clients and talking to a lot of men too, there's either that dominant unhealthy masculinity that happens, or they swing and they're over here in Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about who's Mr.
Exactly.
Nice Guy. I know who it is, but talk about who that is because we have both.
Yeah, of course. The nice guy is, so let's give credit to Robert Glover, who's a very good friend of mine, who wrote No More Mr. Nice Guy, who kind
Yeah,
of finally defined it for us. And
it's
his book is that it's the
yeah,
best entree book to this,
yep.
because it's so simple to understand. Anyway, you get it.
Such a good
The
book. I read
nice
the book.
guy,
Yep, such a good
yeah,
book.
two things about a nice guy. One is his radar is turned outwards and he's
Yep.
looking for danger and he's looking for the safe path, whatever that means.
Hmm.
That's one. Number two, he pretends to have no needs and then is secretly pissed off because nobody ever meets his needs. Like
Yep.
that's the classic nice guy uh, persona, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And so men, if you wonder if you're actually a nice guy, kind of tune into where your awareness rests, and it's
Mhm.
always out there.
Yeah.
Um, and that's so toxic. God, I mean, of course, this as a woman. Like, what a turn off. What a
Yeah.
quick turn off for a
Yeah.
woman then her man has that nice guy energy. Because it's a double whammy. One, you don't feel his power and
Yes.
like his
Yep.
substance.
Yep.
But then because he's not getting his needs met and he's pissed off secretly, resentment is always leaking out. And then the feminine nervous system feels that pretty acutely.
Yeah.
So you get that double pummeling on your nervous system, and you don't want to have sex with that guy, so to speak. Because yeah, you get me. So
Yeah.
that's kind of nice guy. What's
Yeah.
that?
No, no, no. That's really good. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
somewhere in the middle is the healthy man again that owns
yeah.
that. Yeah.
This is what I'll say is it's you have so the nice guy is the light. It's not a healthy light either, but it's nice. He's sweet. Things are easy with him. It's light. And then the misogynist is like all dark.
Mhm.
You don't really want either of those. Like this feels good for a fling, and then it
Mhm.
gets really old or dangerous. This feels good for a couple of years because everything's really easy, and then at 2 years you're like, so the what I'm trying to teach the guys is you want to bring the dark and the light because it's going to make you uniquely attractive where you can be sweet and loving and caring, and you can make her a little naughty, at times,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm teaching guys, and that's what we play with in this workshop.
Yeah.
Um, how do you bring the dark and the light? And that's where it gets really fun.
Ooh, I love that. Okay. Um, what do you think women need more than anything in your research and your years of doing this work? What are we looking for? Is it safety? I'm just thinking through this. What are we looking for from our men? Do we want to feel safe with them? Meaning they've got us. What has your experience been with us?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to answer this. It's too easy I think we got to go to Maslow's hierarchy a little bit, and like physical
Mhm.
safety but that's so obvious. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
put
No,
that
no,
aside.
I'm not talking
Yeah.
about that stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I think ultimately, my opinion, I want to hear your opinion, but it would be great if we had a poll with all your listeners and
That would be
we could
cool.
see what the feedback is. But to me, it's to be heard. That's what I think it is to be heard.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're right.
you guys feel more, so of course you're emoting more, and it's a little less directed than the way we do it.
Yeah.
So, you want to be joined in that. That's just, oh my gosh, so much of my coaching ends up back at this place of like, she just wants to feel you feeling the pain that she's describing. And she wants to feel you meet her there and accompany her in that pain, even if momentarily, and accept it without trying to deny it or just defend it or change it. And they just want to be felt. I said heard, but they just want to be felt in their pain.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I the fights in my own relationship probably way back when I was a lot more defensive
Uh-huh.
versus now where I know to go to the emotion first. It's like night and day. Like fight, art, like her emotion when she gets all fired up comes down like that when I just go and feel her and acknowledge that. And then she's like, oh, okay. And then if I later I want to come in with some facts, then it's I'm free to, but it's like magic kind of, honestly, in
You
terms
know,
of bringing the two back into connection and everything kind of coming down a little bit. And which is what guys want. We just want things to be calm and a little easier,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're never going to get there through the informational path. You can only get there by achieving emotional resonance first. And so that's my answer to your question. I think that's what ultimately women want at the most primal level.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say I'm going to
Oh,
agree with
great.
you. Yeah, for sure. We want to be, and the F word comes up, which is fix. Don't fix me. Don't fix us women. Like we don't. Nobody wants to be fixed. Let's face it. I don't care what gender you are. Nobody wants to be fixed.
Right.
We do at least as women want to feel heard and seen and just be with me in this pain, in this whatever. I remember way back when I was working with Graham on this. I was like, listen, all I need you to do is sit there and listen to me. I call it this the setup. It's my responsibility to tell you as my partner what I need. And what I need for you to do is just sit there, don't say a word. I may cry, I may yell, I may scream, I don't know, or just talk for the next 30 minutes. I just want to be witnessed. That's it. And
Yeah.
he's like, you
Yeah.
mean I don't have to do anything? I said, nada. He's like, wow, okay. He was so relieved. He was like, this is great. Now, is he perfect at it? No, but he's really good at it now after all these years. And I
Yeah.
have to say,
That's good.
game changer. Game
Yeah.
changer. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can,
it
you
really
know,
is. And so many guys are just they're trying to make it stop because your emotion is scary to us, especially if it's about us. Much
yeah.
easier if it's about somebody else. If you're bitching about your sister, it's so easy, but it's about us, it's hard.
Yeah.
And so all those things we do, like fixing and defending, it's like to make our anxieties stop. And then you guys feel so
Yeah.
forgotten in that
Yeah.
process of us trying to protect our own ego. Can we do a pro tip for your audience for
Yeah.
the you know
Please. I love a
what men
pro
are out
tip.
there?
Go for it.
Stage one is what you just described. It's like just sit there and don't do a thing.
Yeah.
That's all I need from you.
Yep.
And then I think the evolution of that is men sit there, tune into the emotion that she's describing. I know we're
Mhm.
very informationally attuned, but kind of shift over and just tune into what she's describing about the at the emotional level and see if you can just feel it with her. Like
Yep.
if your sister,
Yep.
I don't know, I'm making this up. I don't even know if you have a sister, but
I do. I
but
do.
your sister says something really mean about you that you find out about, and it's like, oh, and you're really sad. You're obviously, maybe you're not crying, but you're clearly
Mhm.
sad about it. Like, can the man feel that and be like, oh, sweetie,
Mm.
oh, that's so hard. Like I call it grunting. It's kind of like if you can, you just kind of grunt along with her. And what I mean by that is like feel what she's feeling, and then you put some grunts to it, like, oh God, did she say that? So I don't, you're clearly you're seeing I'm not jumping in with, you should have said this to her. I'm jumping in with,
Right.
oh, God, that must have been hard. And then you go back to being quiet while your feminine partner keeps sharing.
Yeah.
So you can then start to participate in the conversation. And I think that's where the woman feels the most felt when she can feel him. Because the reason I'm saying this is some guys go like a rock and they're like
Yeah. They don't know
they're
what
like
they're frozen.
motionless. Yeah, it's like halfway through, you're like, are you even hearing me? You haven't moved. Have you taken a breath in 5 minutes? So there's that active participation that can really take it, I think, next level.
Yeah. I love that. What if they can't? So what if our man cannot attune, because we're going back to that first word, right? It's really, you're really attuning to your partner's emotions. What if they can't do that? Um, it's something they can learn. True.
I believe so. I
I do
mean,
too.
I mean, if let's rule out like somebody who's maybe got a neurological condition that doesn't
Right.
allow them,
Right.
put
Right.
that
Right.
aside. But
Right.
yeah, the average guy, yeah, I would say they can.
Mhm.
And men, you better. You
Yes.
can and you'd better. what woman wants to be long term with a man that can't attune to her? It's going to get
Yeah.
painful, and so it's going to be the source of a lot of fights. But you can learn it. This is what I teach in my boot camp, in my workshops. And you probably are too. I'm teaching men to actually
Yes.
feel. So we
Yes.
practice feeling. Yeah.
Oh my God. God bless you. Because in my relationship reset course, I say this all the time because I'll have men that go, well, hold on a second. I'm a man. I'm not supposed to feel. I'm like, yes, you are. Think about babies that are born. I don't care what gender you are. They're both crying. Man, little boys
Yeah.
and little girls, we're both crying. And we
Yeah.
learn not to. That's I think
Yeah.
where this toxic masculinity, these men learn not to feel. It's not that they don't know how because they had to learn not to. Really.
Yeah. And that's what's funny. I'm noticing you're getting animated when you're talking about that, and I'm also feeling kind of fierce about it too. Like if a man were to say that to me as a coach, I'd be like, "You coward! Don't
Mm,
hide behind that. Don't hide
woo.
behind that."
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
that.
I feel fierce about it. It's hiding. So I
Yeah.
want to call men forth to something bigger than that, and you were feeling it too. So it's like, men, quit hiding behind these stereotypes of what a man is supposed to be. Here's the thing. I have to say this now that
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
said what I just said. I'm saying this to the men out there. Not being a stone or not having emotions is not masculine. We both feel here, but here's the difference. Both men and women can feel deeply, but they're going to feel their emotions way more. So it's harder to contain in general. So
Yeah.
they spray out in lots of different directions at times.
Yeah.
But with men, what you want to do, we want to cultivate this ability. We want to feel deeply, sit with the intensity of those feelings, and then we share judiciously.
Mhm.
But the common denominator between both is feeling deeply. So men, yeah, it is masculine to feel deeply. It's how you then deal with those emotions and express those and externalize those, which is either masculine or feminine, in terms of the energies of it. Um, So men, don't think that emotions are the domain of women. They're not. We both have them. We both feel them deeply. It's how we externalize them. That is the difference between the two. And again, I'm also not talking about men, women. I'm talking about masculine, feminine. So it's
Yes.
it's and
Yes.
we each have a mix.
What about because it's hard when I think there's a time and a place for the sharing to be about the other person, right? In other words, if you and I are in partnership and I go, okay, GS, we got to sit down, we got to talk. It's not appropriate, or that's not the right word, but to blast you, right? I think it's about me
God
getting,
bless you. Thank you.
I've got to get myself in check. And again, it's not to say that I can't get overly emotional, all these things, but I need to be able to get my thoughts organized, my feelings, and sit down and say, hey, GS, you really hurt me when, and actually have a conversation about it. Because blasting you, I don't care how much personal work that you've done. I think it'd be hard for anybody to get blasted by someone else and not get defensive, right? At some
Hard.
point, can we get to the point where you can get upset with me and I can hold my space and I'm not affected by you? I do believe we get there. Like I see that with Graham. What I notice is it's almost like I'm starting to see through the illusion. Like sometimes he's starting to get really upset with me. I'm like, I actually can feel this 5-year-old that's mad. It's not even him. It's not the guy he is today. It's this little kid. And I think we can get there. But it's hard sometimes to hold that. Do you agree? Like, how do you handle that if you are mad at your partner? What do you say to people that are in conflict like that?
Well, let's see. What do- it's this bring I don't know if I'm going to answer the question exactly, but let me just riff a little bit here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what you just asked me brings up an age-old question, particularly for men.
Hmm.
I'm always thinking about it from the guy's perspective because
Yeah,
that's my audience.
yeah.
Like, why do I have to be the one that always, does the work? Like, why does she just get to blast me?
Yes.
I mean, it's like over and over I hear this, and I say, man, I don't know the answer to that question. All I know is I'm going to coach you and put 100% of the responsibility on your shoulders. Because the minute you start thinking, why can't she just change? You're just always taking that as the path of least resistance. Oh,
Yes.
she's crazy. She needs to do the work. I'm
Mhm.
just going to sit here like a stone and with my inner fuck you going on.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yep.
always putting the responsibility 100% on the guy. And,
Hmm.
ultimately, look, it's your job to go and do your work so that you can come to me and use nonviolent communication. When you do this, it makes me feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But for most guys, you can't make your wife or girlfriend do that. And
Hmm.
so, like, the more you're just like, when is that going to happen? That just prevents you from really committing to your own work. And
Hmm.
so, I'd say for your own self-protection, guys, develop the capacity to withstand the toxicity that's going to come your way.
Hmm.
That's really, all you can do is protect yourself. And and so you have to do the embodiment work to get a grounded nervous system, and all
Yep.
these other things that you and I and other people
Hmm.
teach.
Hmm.
And I say, man, you got to be prepared for anything, just like in life. Like, you can't argue, why is the weather so bad and why is the flood coming at us? That's not fair. You
Right.
got to get prepared nonetheless. And I think it's the same relationally. Now, the thing that I say to my guys is, if you really live the blueprint for, a while, 6 months, 12 months, where
Hmm.
you're really bringing it,
Yeah.
and your wife or girlfriend or your partner just really continues to blast you with a lot of blame and shaming pretty chronically, then it's boundary time.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
then you could say,
Yes.
you know what? This is not okay.
Hmm.
We're not going to treat each other that way. And um, I need you to really get in touch with what's going on inside of you, because there's a lot of blasting that's coming at me.
Hmm.
And I've been, being here and receiving it and staying as open as I can, and I'm really hitting my limit. But you
Yep.
can't say that in day one when you've been a shitty relational partner as a guy for 10 years.
Yeah.
You can't
Right.
get on your immediately. Um, but
Yeah.
if you're bringing it for a while, then it's time to say, hey, I'm feeling like this is on your side of the fence, and I
Yeah.
can't I can't be doing all the work here. So
That's
that's
fair.
that's kind of how I think about it. I don't know if I answered your question directly, but that's how I think about that kind
No,
of whole domain.
I agree. I agree. That's good. All right. So what's number three in the blueprint?
Create safety. And what we're
Hmm.
talking about is physical, financial, and emotional safety. So, physical and financial are the classic protector and provider roles.
Hmm.
And, um, you know, quick comments, protector role is, a lot of guys always think about, well, if we get a mugger jumps out, then I'm going to be ready to throw down. There's so much more to physical safety. Do you have fire extinguishers in your house? That's
Right.
physical safety.
Mhm.
Did you fix the lock on the back door that's been broken for 3 months, that anybody could just walk in the house? So there's lots to physical safety that men need to attend to. And
Mhm.
to me, this is an easy one, really easy one. So you can do kind of an audit of things.
Mhm.
Um, Financial safety, I'm not going to go into that really. I think the biggest danger with financial, like be it that protector or provider role,
Mhm.
is that guys use that as an excuse to be kind of a shitty emotional partner. Like,
Yeah.
I create a good life for you. I work my ass off. I make lots of money for us. Like, what more do you need from me? So
Yeah.
they're like, I don't need to do all this other shit in relationship. I'm providing money. So I try to caution guys against that. But emotional safety is obviously the one that I end up talking about the most with guys. And yeah, emotional safety. We've talked a lot about it, like
Yeah.
validating your partner,
Yep.
having her pain feel felt, heard and felt is a big part of that. Building an emotional connection. It's something that I go through in my boot camp program. I teach these guys how to build emotional connection, because I mean, this. If you have an emotional connection, like you got this like insulation against the bumps and bruises that are pretty inevitable in relationship. Things flare up all the time in relationship. And so if
Yeah.
you've got a strong connection, then you're much more robust to that. And so I'm trying to get guys to see the value of that. So they get so much more leeway. We get so much more leeway for the stupid shit that we do when we spend a lot of time building a good emotional connection. So
It's
that's
so true.
the third element.
So true. I love
Yeah.
these. They're so adult chair, I have to tell you. That's a healthy adult right there. All of them. Love it. Let me ask you this question. What can we do as women that have young men or boys that we're raising? Um, what if like the person I'm with, or maybe I'm divorced or whatever, there's not a man around that's healthy Is there anything we can do as women to help these young boys become healthy men, healthy masculine men?
Um, you mean like a mother kind of coaching their son? Is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about, or something
I
different? Do you
what
mean young
occurs to
women?
me is, hey, little boy of mine, like I'm going to really help them to stay open to their
Mhm.
emotions, for example,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm thinking of like as women, like what can we do to help our little boys that we're raising in order to become healthier men, right? Healthy
yeah,
adult men, I should say.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think you would expect me to say this, but borrow heavily from the blueprint. And
Yes.
so if you're, let's say you've got a, I don't know, maybe a 20-year-old, and you're like, look, I asked you not to leave your shoes, dirty shoes in the thing, and he's like, but, and you could just pause him and just say, sweetie, you don't, you're not in some, you know, massive trouble here. I just need you to hear me. And can you do that?
Mm.
So you can
Yeah.
kind of ask for your needs as a just a feminine being, even when you're mom, it still applies, as a feminine being. And could you just take me in, sweetie?
Yeah.
And or if he's I don't know, he's going to go out with his girlfriend, but he doesn't even have a plan. You could tell him what women like. It's like, your girlfriend might appreciate it if you actually kind of have a whole plan laid out, because then she can just surrender into it. And I know that when like your father did that with me, I loved it, so you can sort of be self-referential to the family.
Yeah.
I think sharing what women like is a beautiful way to coach young men, from age 20 to 30 or whatever the age range is. So I,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think those are some of the things that come up for me.
I like
Um,
that.
yeah.
What about if we're in a relationship with a man right now and we're noticing they're either a nice guy or they're maybe have a little bit too much toxic masculinity? Is there anything that we can do or say to help them to become healthier men? I mean, or is it really just a matter of dropping their book in their lap or something like that? Like, come listen to this.
Yeah.
Other than, hey, come and listen to this podcast today. Is there
Yeah.
anything else? Like,
Yeah.
as women, what do we do to help our men?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that gosh, so many things come up. I can't even think of which one to say, but um if it because you said two different things. There's the toxic masculine and then there's nice guys. So we address those separately. Toxic masculine, it's like,
Yeah. So what do we do if if we realize, oh my God, I'm in a relationship with someone that has toxic masculinity? They're just really
yeah,
unhealthy. What do we
yeah,
do? And we don't want to
yeah,
end the relationship. What do we
yeah.
do?
Well, one is it's like, hey, this behavior is just not okay with me, sweetie. Like I love you and you're scaring me, actually.
Yeah.
And I find myself closing, and it's like I don't even want to think about sexuality when I feel your energy coming at me. So you kind of just you share the impact of them very honestly,
Hmm.
which I know is hard. Like some women could be actually in dangerous situations. So
Yeah.
it's easy for me to say, just express yourself, but it could be dangerous.
Hmm.
My work doesn't go all the way into that realm.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but just share how it's closing you down and set the boundary. I love you, but that it's not okay to yell at me. That's
Yeah.
just not okay.
Yeah.
The nice guy one is it's harder because then the guy's embarrassment factor gets kicked in. If you just look at him, you're like, you're kind of a nice guy. Listen, I don't want to have sex with you. So do something about it. Like he's gonna
No.
go into his embarrassment mode. And so that's
Yeah.
hard. I think I I think it's probably a lesson we all probably learn in grade school. It's just like, I love it when you take charge,
Yeah.
like praise him for the times that he does. Or if he's like, well, baby, where do you want to go on our date night? And the woman can say, I would actually like you to determine that,
Hmm.
and just leave him to his own devices.
And then positive
Surprise me,
reinforcement
honey.
when he does take you somewhere. And then you say, thank you so much. I love that you led the way here. So you're really
Yeah,
reinforcing what they're doing that you want more of.
exactly. And
Yeah.
reinforce it with words, but also, like nuzzle him and touch him and
Yes.
like do
Yeah.
it express at a primal level that will really resonate in his masculine nervous system.
I love that.
Yeah, that's how I would do that. And I would say this, you didn't quite ask this question, but it's like, what do men want?
Mm-hmm.
Your man, ladies, your man wants to, forgive the word, but he wants to perform as a competent boyfriend for you.
Yes.
He wants to be a good partner in most cases.
Yeah.
But when you express your pain, but intermix some blaming and shaming, which is just human, I get it. It's like sometimes it's too much and you need to blast somebody.
Mm-hmm.
When any of that blame and shaming is intermixed, then he's got to defend himself. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So the cleanest expression of your pain that doesn't blame him for it, but just expresses it,
Mm-hmm.
is going to get you way farther because he's going to stay open, and then he has the space to be responsive when he stays open.
Mm.
So the more that you can clean up your expression, the more he's going to be responsive to you in most cases. It's not 100%, but in most cases. So strive for that. And yeah, I get it. I know it's hard,
Mm.
but
That's really good. Yeah.
everybody's doing their half. He's doing his work, at least we hope.
Yeah.
I'd suggest to you that your work is to just have the cleanest expression possible. It's really going to help your cause in getting what you want relationally.
Mm-hmm. I think that in what you just said, I mean, I preach this. I preach this. I preach this to my coaches. If you want to be great coaches, I preach this to every human. Do your personal work because
Yeah.
your personal work, your own, what you learned in childhood from your mom, from your dad, you're bringing it into your relationship, and your relationship is reflecting it for you. It's your partner is reflecting your wounding. So we've got to be able to do our own personal work in order so we're to stop that projection. So most important thing, without a doubt, without a doubt. So
Yeah. Yeah. Your path to freedom is your personal work instead of
I agree.
like, why won't my partner change? Your path to freedom is do your own.
Yeah. It's because there's something in me that is creating this reality in front of me that I need
Yeah.
to look
Yeah.
at to get them to change. So
Yep. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
this was so
And I
good.
think,
Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I'll just quickly add that there's a symbiosis there that I think that we all recognize. When I do my work, I'm a different way and I evoke something different from you, which then
Exactly.
hopefully is a healthier version. And then that leads into you treating me in a different way that actually makes me even better and more relaxed. And so there's a symbiosis. This is what guys forget. They sort of think their woman is a certain way.
Yeah.
Well, you evoked a lot of that. My contention is the feminine way of being is often a response to our way of being, even more so because you guys
Yeah.
feel so much more.
Yeah.
So I'm like, guys, don't stop waiting for her to change. Just evoke something different in your woman, and here's how. Dot dot dot.
I love that.
Hmm.
So good. Anything else that you can think of that would be helpful for us for today? This was good.
Um, I think that there's a lot of men's work that is about becoming sovereign, and there's a lot of men doing awesome men's work. We talked
Mhm,
about a few of those guys, and
mhm. Yeah.
um, that are doing great men's work, that's sovereign men sharpening men and being together and having those connections to grow as men. And then I think the next evolution is the relational skills. So
Mhm.
and that's where some work falls short, is they don't go into the relational skills because there's plenty of work to do on getting men to be more sovereign in themselves.
Right.
But men, like if you're in a relationship, you gotta get these relational skills. So just start to accept it as part of your masculine quest. It's not relational skills are not the domain of the feminine guys.
No.
Um, they're yours too. And it's the key to everything that you want in a relationship. The ease, the fun, the sexuality, the closeness. It's the key, these relational skills, to
Mhm.
everything that you want. So accept it as part of your masculine quest. Not don't say that it belongs to the feminine. I think that's the kind of boil it up to its core. I think that's what it is.
That's really good. Thank you so much for today. This was amazing. Where would people find you and let us know what you've got going on coming up?
Yeah, the easiest place is gsyoungblood.com. You can find I've got the things I'm most excited about are my boot camp. It's a
Mhm,
8-week program that I take men through online with a cohort of 12 men. It's really fun and
mhm,
and some of my best teachings.
mhm,
My workshop coming up
mhm.
October 11th through 13th in Santa Cruz, California, and we're going to work on leading in the bedroom. And so it's not a
Woo!
not a workshop about sex. It's about bringing your groundedness and power into that more intimate space. And it's all clean. There's not any sexuality happening, but we're building those energies of the dark and the light that you and I talked about earlier.
Ooh,
And Michelle, you are sponsoring a $100 discount. So guys,
thank
just
you.
reach out to me and just say, hey, I want the Chow Fun promo code, and you'll get $100 discount, and we'll get you into the program. Yeah,
Promo code adult chair, I think. All
that's what I
caps.
meant to say. Yeah, adult
Okay.
chair. Yeah, all that. Yeah, the workshop's called Leading in the Bedroom.
Where do we find you on social?
Yeah, it's Instagram's the best place at GS Youngblood MIR. It's masculine in relationship MIR, and so you can get a sample of. I mean, if they listen to this, they got a pretty good sample of me. But there's other snippets and things like that.
Love it. We will have all of this in the show notes. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the world with our men. We need you and we really appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
Good. Thank you, Michelle. That was fun.